Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Otieno Nyadimo. I'm a photographer based in Nairobi, Kenya, and recently I stumbled onto some images I shot earlier in my career, and I decided to do a re-edit. And on this session I'm going to be talking about the techniques I used back in the day and the techniques I use today. Welcome. So let's jump into my website, www.otienonyadimo.co.ke. Yeah, so the images were shot back in 2014, posted in 2015. It was the first time I was trying studio photography with a good friend of mine, Kaka Photography. Yeah, we had a makeshift studio and makeshift light modifiers. I remember we made a soft box using cardboard and foil. Yeah, we didn't have stands, so the models were holding the lights. Quite interesting. Yeah, so after the shoot I had the images. I think we shot it in November 2014. I looked at the images and I just couldn't process them. I didn't have the know-how then, and so I went on a research journey, and finally I stumbled upon a learn tutorial on frequency separation. I think that was the one that actually worked for me. So I remember the time I was going for an ACL surgery and I knew I'd be off my feet for about a month. So I had images that I knew I could edit at the time. So yeah, let's jump into the blog. Yes, Sura Yako, that was the name of the blog. Swahili for your face. And as we jump in, you can see the beautiful imagery that we did on the day and the beautiful edit that I did on them. Yeah, I was using frequency separation. Oh my. Looking at these images now, they just bring a lot of feeling of achievement. I had tried before to do edits on my images, but they just didn't look right. This was the first time that I did images and I looked at them and they looked right. They looked like something that would be on a magazine, you know. I was so excited. Man, I remember sharing this. The praises I got. No, I don't do it for the praises, but it was a nice feeling that people are appreciating the work that you're putting in. Now, fast forward to now, and I stumbled again onto these images on my hard disk, and I was just looking at them, and I was thinking that the images were just beautifully shot. And I know there's a lot of fluke because I looked at the metadata, and I think I was on 1/20th of a second, f9, and ISO 200, and I was thinking, Sony saved me, man. That I think at the time it was 3-axis stabilization on my A99. I still shoot with my A99 till today. That's what got the images without the motion blur that you get when shooting at slow shutter speeds. And yeah, it was 1/20th of a second, and I think I was zoomed into 85 mm. Yeah. I remember just thinking that the images looked nice. Like, it's something that maybe I changed the lighting to make it a bit easier for me to manipulate. But I love the images. Like, I would have shot those images even today, just the way we shot them back in the day. And I remember thinking, like, these images would look really nice if I did a bit of dodge and burn on them. And so I did. I just took them and re-edited them, and I realized the things that years back I'd seen on a Facebook group that I joined for retouches, and they were talking about the methods that they don't want to see on the group. And I can't remember quite the words, but they mentioned something to do with any technique that used filters or blur of any sort would not be condoned on the group, and it was quite strong wording. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, that's like everything I do to my images. So I embarked on a journey to get a new technique that would meet the criteria for that group. Because I was thinking, these are professionals. These are professionals of international standards, and they are not condoning frequency separation. So I think the smart thing was for me to shift from frequency separation. And I have nothing against frequency separation. I see people editing with frequency separation, very beautiful images that would pass. If some of them, if they didn't tell you the frequency separation, wouldn't know. So I did dodge and burn, and what I noticed on how I used to do the frequency separation was there's this even texture on the skin that gives it somehow fake or porcelain smooth. Actually, the smoothness is not the issue, it's the uniformity of the texture. If you just look at the image, the skin looks rubbery, and we're human beings, and even when you look with our superior eyes at people, the skin is not uniform. That's just how it is. Yeah, you have big pores somewhere, smaller pores somewhere, and this is something that I like to preserve in my images. I like to keep the original skin tone, maybe just remove blemishes here and there, because those ones are not permanent. Yeah. And also, if you look at the before images, there's a lot of things that I couldn't control using frequency separation. So like the shadows, I couldn't control where I wanted the shadows and where I didn't want the shadows. So what it did was it blended the images, it blended the shadows and the highlights. So the shadow is still there, but it's blended, so it looked nice. It looks kind of in quotes professional. Yeah, but in reality, I really wanted to remove some of the shadows, maybe under the eyes. Yeah, the area under the eyes, I'd have loved to remove that, and also maybe add highlights under the eyes, on the nose, maybe on the lips a bit, just to make them look a bit more fuller. Yeah, on the lips, maybe more highlights and shadows on different parts of the lips. So yeah. So dodging and burning, that's my current go-to technique for retouching. Mostly it's because the people I look up to in the photography world, most of them do dodging and burning, and like I said before, I realized that that's what a lot of the high-end international guys use. So I'm not going to invent the wheel. I'm just going to roll with it. Maybe down the line I'll tweak it a bit to suit me more. But yeah, so looking at these images, what I had to do first was I had to correct the raw files. Yeah, early in my career, I didn't do a lot of corrections, or I overdid corrections. So be subtle at this stage, because the bulk of the work will come during the dodging and burning on Photoshop. So on Adobe Camera Raw, what I do, I adjust the exposure, the highlights, the shadows, the blacks, the whites, the color, the specific colors in the image. You can go to the color sliders and move them around to your liking. And if you want to throw in a vignette, this is the place I normally do it. And yeah, then export it to Photoshop, always as a smart object, so you can go back and do your adjustments if you need to again. So my preferred dodging and burning technique, I use the curves layers. I know there are guys who use the 50% gray and then use the dodging and burning tools on Photoshop, but I find that to be to be a bit destructive because it's a bit hard to go back and undo what you've done. So the curves, basically what you do, you just need one bright curve layer and one dark curve layer. And how I determine that is I move the curves layer up till I see the shadows are bright the way I'd like them to be. So that's my limit, and I do the same for the shadows. I take down the curve layer till I see the bright areas are as dark as I'd want them to be. So I have a limit, and that's why I like this method. It limits you on how far you can go with the dodging and burning. So once that's done, I look at the image and decide that where I'd like to dodge, how far I'd like to go with the dodging. Also at these stages where I also think about how I'd like the face to look like. So how I'd like to contour the face. Once you have this game plan in your head, it's easier for you to go ahead. So what I normally do, I start with one curves layer. I don't go back and forth between the dodge and burn. So I do the dodge first, unless it's a low-key image, in which case I'll be doing a lot of burning. So I'd start with the burning. So I'd take the dodge tool and dodge generally where I feel should be dodged. Like in this image, I think I dodged a lot under the right eye because I felt like the light was hitting a lot, should be hitting more there. You can see the highlights, so I just went with it. So I dodged more there. On her forehead there's a hot spot, so I dodge a bit round so that it blends around the area. And then the eyelids, I'd brighten that up. Yeah, when you brighten above the eyes, it kind of makes the face look brighter. And then the lips, dodge in between the upper part of the lip and the lower part, so the lips look a bit fuller, and then burn just at the edges. Just generally brighten up the jewelry, and don't forget to do the dodging and burning on the body parts, because it normally looks weird when you dodge and burn the face, and then you don't do the shoulders, the hands. So I generally just do everywhere that can be seen in the image, everywhere that I want to be seen will be dodged and burned. For the background, I initially wanted to do a cleanup on it, but I went with adding texture. So I went to my stash, grabbed one of my textures, it was red, and then I changed it to grayscale and then stitched it up so it was bigger and could fill the frame, and then put it on top of the layer. Change the blend mode to overlay, added a negative mask, and then basically just shaded it back in. So the places you see it's red, that's me switching to quick mask mode so that I can see the mask better. Yeah, so in the end, I thought it came out really well. At some points, I had to use the quick selection tool so that I could get the edges in, but there's no problem if it creeps back into the image. I think it looks normally better that way. And yeah, so I thought the results were really nice. You can see the images afterwards. I hope you enjoyed the session. I'll be doing more of this type of videos. So in the future, just basically explaining my processes, things I've stumbled upon, new techniques that I'm currently using, and just generally sharing knowledge. So if you have any questions, if you have topics that you might want me to talk about, you can hit me up. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the session, and good day.